It's a short video on how to make a pleated face mask. So we've got three layers and the elastic already cut. The layers are 23 by 15 centimetres and I've cut 16 centimetres of elastic. It's fairly fine, 4 or 5mm elastic. First thing you need to do is to stack up the layers. So the outer and the lining go together on top of each other, and then the middle section goes on the top. Try and get your edges nicely together. And then to secure these in place, just put a few pins to secure them there. Pin the edges together. So now, inside the layer, we need to add the elastic. So I'm going to pin the elastic within the layers because we're going to bag out this face mask, and just pin it around 1 centimetre from the edge so it doesn't get captured in the seam allowance. When we sew round, we're going to use 1 centimetre seam allowance, and we're going to sew straight over the pins. So I'm putting them at 90 degrees to the seam. Flatten out the elastic and press that down. Then you'll want a couple more pins just there. Same on the other side. Pin this in place. Right, I'm using black thread so that you can see what's happening. So the seam allowance is we're going to start on this short edge, and the gap's going to be on the short edge just there to turn it, to bag it out. Straight over the elastic, put the needle in, turn it round, foot back down. And so I'm doing centimetre seam allowance, and I'm going to finish about here. Trim the threads off. Take your pins out. Right, we're going to put a paperclip nose wire into this one, and all it is a paperclip which I've opened out like that, and then with some pliers just crush the edges together until you get something that looks like that. Okay, So that's going to go within the seam allowance on one of the edges. So I just want to mark the halfway point, just using the ruler on the side of my machine. So that's the halfway point. Place him on. He's 6 centimetres, so we know we want 3 centimetres each side. And perhaps put a pin where we're going to start and finish sewing. So we're going to start sewing just here, and it's a good idea just to make your stitch length a bit shorter. Make it stitch length 2, so there's no way this can pop out. So I'm doing 3 stitches, put the needle in, turn round. You can take that pin out now. And then I'm going to place it between the seam allowance layers. It's a good idea to get this paperclip really nice and flat, because we're going to sew past it. Might have to give it a little shove just to get it moving along. You can see I've just got my fingernail where the end of the paperclip is, so we know where I need to sew up to, because we don't want to sew over the paperclip. I'm just pushing it along a bit by hand. So again, make sure that your paperclip is clear of where you're going to be sewing, and again just sew back to the seam line. If you've not got the automatic knot, you might want to reverse a couple of times just to make sure that it's nice and secure. So again, trim off these ends. Clip corners. And then we're ready to turn it inside out. So make sure we're turning it through so it's the right side that comes out. You can see we're getting there. Now I use the little unpicker just to pull those corners out so we get a nice neat corner. And just wiggle them so they feel nice and flat. Right, I'm just going to give it a little press, and then we can start the pleating. So the nose wire is just there. You can see we can bend it. So we're going to start with an inward pleat, approximately 2.5 centimetres down, and taking about 1 centimetre just there. And then this end, the pleat's again going to go that way. We want that little bit there to be the same as that. And again taking about 1 centimetre. And then what you've got left in the middle, just do a little pleat. Just there. Pin it in place. Quickly on the other side. So this is where we've got the opening. You don't need to sew that up, you can just pleat it into place, and the stitches we're going to be doing now will close the gap. Okay, so next, just make sure that's coming out there. We're doing 2 rows of stitches along here to hold those pleats in place. If you've got something like a bulky seam aid, then you can use that, or sometimes I use a pack of needles. So let me show you what this does. It's quite bulky what we're doing now, so if you start by put the needle in, then we've got the bulky seam aid, and that can go just behind, and it raises and supports the foot so that when we start sewing it will be able to jump over the hill of that much thicker. Another little tip is just, if you've got any folds, just press them down. Don't try and get your finger in there. Press them down with your quick unpick. Now I've changed my stitch back to stitch length 2.5. And what I'm going to do now is try and be a bit clever and sew it back the other way. So a couple of stitches that way. Take these pins out now, and again with bulky seam aid, I'm going to pop that in there just so it brings it up to the same level as the pleats. Sew back to where you've sewn to, and then finish off your stitching just there. You can cut the ends close just because we've got that knot. So I'll just show you that again on the other side. Start by placing your needle roughly where that elastic is, I think, and it just will reinforce the elastic connections as well. Might have to push it a bit. Get it going in where these pleats are. So again, just need the bulky seam aid here as well. And then we'll come back on ourselves to get 2 rows of stitching. And there are the pleats sewn into place. So I'll just press it slightly so those pleats are pressed in place. And there you have it. There's your pleated mask with noseband. So it will concertina and open up and cover the chin, and the little wire will fit over the nose and make it a closer fit.